Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It is a Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day weekend. And I want to give a huge shout out and love to all the soldiers that we have lost over the history of the world that were out there fighting and protecting us. And I love you all, and I cannot stress that enough. And shout outs to their families today also. Thank you. To a lot of you, it is a kickoff of the summer, traditionally a 3-day weekend, getting ready to go into a full summer effect, meaning everything like vacations, outdoor concerts. I was just thinking about it. 1983, I was at the US Festival in San Bernardino, and it's still, to this day, one of the greatest weekends of my life. I will never forget it, and I thank my mom for being absolutely cool and a fantastic mom. Open-minded mom. Man, I can't tell you what that did to me. You can probably tell from this show over the last almost 9 years what it did to me. It opened my life to travel, rock and roll, and meeting people. It just everything. That weekend completely changed my life. I remember my mom had she gave me the choice. You could go to the junior prom or you could go to the US Festival. And I just laughed. Junior prom, get out of here. I'm not going to know. You know where we're going. So she rented a Toyota Dolphin, which was it's a small camper on the back of this little Toyota. And I remember we drove down from the Bay Area and it barely made it up the Grapevine. Just a 4-cylinder with this trailer on the back. It was like a miniature Winnebago, but with a 4-cylinder little Toyota truck, just trying to get up the Grapevine. And 83, I was a junior in high school. And I look back at it now, it just seems like it took us a month to get there. We drove from the Bay Area all the way to San Bernardino, which is, to LA, it's about a 5-hour drive, 5.5-hour drive. I can do it in like 5 now because the speed limits are, I think, like 75 or 70 out there. But back then it was 55 miles an hour, and we're in a 4-cylinder that shouldn't have this much weight. So we probably did 45 miles an hour all the way down there. And it took us just probably 10 hours to get there, me and a couple buddies. And we got there. We pulled into this kind of camping area. We parked. And then 3 days of absolute insanity went down. A lot of people just went for 1 day for the medal day. But man, that was a mistake. And thank God my mom let us stay all weekend. I think it was $25 a day. The first day, the headliner was The Clash. The second day, the headliner was Van Halen. The third day was David Bowie. And that was The Clash's last show ever with the original lineup. They played a few more shows without Mick Jones, which I heard were horrible. I never saw him without Mick Jones. And Bowie was on the massive Let's Dance China Girl tour. Oh, my God. And then Van Halen, of course, out there with you can Google the lineup. I've talked about it over and over. And every Memorial Day weekend, it hits me like you cannot believe. It's almost... It's one of the I can't even describe it, actually, what it did to me. And now I think about the times we're in, and I wonder, will we ever have a fucking rock festival again, man? Wow. I mean, I'm still blown away with what is going on right now in life. And it's brutal. It is brutal. Number one, of course, I care about everybody's health and my health. But number two, there's more to health than just your physical. You got the mental health. And those people out there, including myself, battle some of that stuff. And that's just as deadly as a virus health. So anyway, I pray that we can get back to festivals and, just the small things like going to a movie theater, stuff like that. And one of the main things in life is going to restaurants. Think about it right now. Think about this. How many nights you've had at a restaurant that were absolutely incredible? I'm not just talking going someplace to get food because you're hungry. I'm talking about a gathering of friends, a birthday party, a celebration, a breakup, a new relationship. Everything that the restaurant is. It's a gathering place of just food and friendship. And my guest today couldn't be more of perfect timing to have on than right now. My guest today is the owner of All Time, my favorite restaurant in LA. It is on Hillhurst in the east side of LA in Los Feliz. His name is Tyler Wells, and him and his wife Ashley are absolute excellent humans, man. I met him about a year ago, started eating at this restaurant, and I knew right away, I cannot leave this neighborhood. I got to do everything I can to stay in this neighborhood the rest of my life. And it made me realize, and Tyler said something amazing on this episode, where he said, we're in a big city, but our neighborhood feels like a small town. And that really, really hit the nail on the head. Hammer on the head, whatever that saying is. The food is fantastic. The people are amazing. The music, everything. But mostly what it was really about was having a home base. As cheesy as that theme song Cheers is, where everybody knows your name. Yeah, man, there's truth to that. There really is truth to that. There's a thing, especially me, when I'm out on the road and I come home and I can go somewhere and there's smiles on their faces saying, hey, where you been, Dean? You want a Topo Chico? You want a decaf Americano? You want the breakfast hash? They know. It's a warm blanket. Especially when you're single and you only have your only family is your mom, and she lives 3,000 miles away. It feels good to have good friends and eat some good food. And what an insane time it is right now to be a restaurant owner. A lot of people are not going to make it, and Tyler and his wife Ashley have been battling through this. Not only are they battling for their restaurant and their employees, but they were in the middle of building a second restaurant right up the road when all this hit. And I'm out of work. but I'm still trying to eat there and give them my support. Small business needs support more than anyone. Fuck all the Walmarts and the fast food places and all that. Hit up your mom and pop shops and support those people. Speaking of support, my number one podcast sponsor, CBD Lion, is offering an incredible deal today. And I'm not going to promote that CBD is helping coronavirus. Definitely not. I don't know anything about that, but I read some stuff over the weekend that they said CBD and high contents and low THC seem to be helping some coronavirus stuff. So I'm really interested in seeing those reports because it's so funny. Here comes weed again to save the day, hopefully. Unbelievable, right? Mr. Evil Marijuana turns out, and evil mushrooms, all that stuff turns out to be the best, and Big Farm, eat a dick. Anyway, CBDlion.com, the cleanest CBD on the market. Third-party tested, been a sponsor here for a long time. Use the code DEAN at checkout for 20% off. They've got the tinctures. That's the one I use. The oils right under the tongue. Instant help out for anxiety and joint aches and all that. I also use the creams. I use the cream on my neck every day. They got the new roll-on. I love that one. I roll it on. It's like it's instant relief, the roll-on. 900 milligram roll-on. They've got stuff for your pet. I'm sure pets are freaking out right now too because you're home all day. They're like, why is this guy home? I don't need him home. I need to be chilling. Pet tinctures. They've got all the CBD needs. CBDlion.com, sponsor of the Let There Be podcast, Let There Be Talk podcast. I love it. CBD Lion, man. Third-party tested, not that truck stop bullshit. Get the lotions, the tinctures, the gummies. They got the yummy gummies. All of it. Thank you, CBD Lion, for being here during these incredibly tough times. And thank you to all of you out there for listening every week and taking the journey with me on different types of guests, like last week when we had American Rap Company on, and now this week with Tyler Wells and his restaurant. I find it just as interesting to interview these people that are living their dream life just as much as a rock star or a movie star or a comedian. It's fantastic to me to bring these people to you. Okay, quick shout out. Patreon.com has 77 bonus episodes, and I want to give a shout out to the brand new Patreoners. First of all, Ryan Syfix for sending me gloves. I love it. I've been using gloves everywhere I go, touching those ATMs or anything. Vile Katunen, thank you. Or Villa. I don't know. I ruined people's names. Darren Bruckner. I cannot thank you, Darren, enough, man. Wow. Doug Harper, another solid pledge. Mike Grimes, kick ass. Jarrett McCarthy and Matt Harden, all brand new Patreoners, and you can be too. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. I've got 77 bonus episodes up there, and I try to kick ass on those things. They're solo, and I talk about all kinds of fun stuff. All right, let's get into it. Here it is right here. Tyler Wells, and owner of All-Time Restaurant. Not only that, but he was a former Porsche mechanic, a coffee shop owner, a bike messenger company owner. He did it all, and now he is here for you. Welcome. Another episode of Let There Be Talk. This is kind of a handmade episode. I have people on that work outside the box, have created their own thing, not working for the man. And my guest today is definitely one of those people. Introduce yourself.
Tyler Wells, working for the man.
You don't work for the man, you are the man.
We all work for the man.
You did work for the man.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I never worked very well for the man.
I want to give my quick introduction to you. Is I've lived all over the Bay Area, Los Angeles, New York, and there is definitely something that grabs me in East Hollywood that lets me know that I will live here the rest of my life. I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of vibes that I feel, and especially this neighborhood. And I discovered your restaurant when I first moved here a year ago, and I was like, oh, this is something I've been looking for a long time that reminds me of San Francisco, a great, great neighborhood restaurant. Let's get into that.
Yeah, well, so I grew up in small town West Virginia for the first 14, 15 years of my life, and I've lived all over too. I lived in Denver for a long time. I lived in Pittsburgh. I lived in Austin. I lived in North Carolina. I lived in
What were you, military?
Baltimore. No, just bored.
Bored.
Yeah. And the one thing that always stood out from there's just you can anchor everything to that like neighborhood place. You have your regular place. You go and growing up in a small town, we had way less restaurants, but I go out with my dad to a little diner called Scotty's, and it was like the spot. You could count on who you'd see there. Total epicenter of the community. And, I moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago from Austin, assuming I would never find that kind of wonderful community ever again. And I'm blown away by LA, like by the caliber of people, you just meet people, right?
Yeah.
You make new friends, you meet people who have similar kind of ideas about everything. You just meet your people, right? And there's this incredible community of people here, but like we would go out for dinner and like maybe know the chef here, we know somebody that works there, but there was no spot. There was no like neighborhood. There was no like just that place, the joint. And we didn't have some we didn't have some crazy expectation like, oh, let's spend $1 million and we'll like open this place and it's going to be this thing. Like we did it one day at a time. We did it so fast. And, I ever tell you that story about how All Time came to be?
Well, I love this story, and I do want to interject real quick of the feeling of what you're talking about and what I'm talking about. And this is when it really hit me when I got home a couple weeks ago from a long, cold run of touring dates. And I was walking up I was going to go get a coffee and a green juice at the Lassen's or whatever. And then I saw you and you go, hey, come in, man. Let's make some food and shoot the shit. And at that point, I was like, I'm never leaving this neighborhood. Like, I just needed that because I was just fried. And then I sat down. I was ready to go to bed. And next thing you know, I'm hanging with you for 2 hours and we're eating. But that's when you told me about how this all unraveled. It's really wild. Like, you worked at Intelligentsia as a barista.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was management.
Management, okay. And then from there, you open your own coffee joint downtown called Nice Coffee.
Well, I left Intelligentsia. Me and some guys started a place called Handsome Coffee.
Handsome Coffee. Yeah. And then, you were telling me like fucking Maynard from Tool was like a fan, and this thing hits now. And then what? You sell it and decide I want to make food?
Yeah. So quick chronological order of my life. I, just grew up pretty normal. Moved to Colorado when I was like 14 or 15. Real into skateboarding and snowboarding. So I dropped out of high school when I was 16 just to be a snowboarder. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. Wound up going to school to be a mechanic. So I went to school.
Auto?
I went to school in Denver. So my first job which I was a total ass clown. But my first job was working for this independent Porsche repair spot, which was where I sort of discovered my love of Porsches. And
Oh shit! What was it called?
I'll remember in a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a little while. Guy's name was Greg. That guy was fucking awesome.
So he hires you, and they're just working on Porsches out there.
Just him and me.
God.
And he was like the guy. So
What a great job.
So my first job was like ripping all the AC out of this 76 930 that was like fresh coat of absolutely stunning silver paint. The interior was done in like this custom lobster red. And I developed this just like love affair with this silver red, like classic combo. But that car, like, that was the car that started it for me. So I bought out of the Rocky Mountain News. Somebody was selling a 1971 911T.
Yeah.
That ran.
Yeah.
I think I paid $3,100 for it.
What year was this?
This was probably 97.
Holy shit! $3,100 a T.
Yeah. So.
And is that your first car?
No, but that was my first like project car. And
What color was it?
It was black.
Black. Original.
Black. Yeah.
Wow. Great car.
Yeah. I flipped it. Made 20%.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think I sold it to a guy I worked with for $3,700, and I was like, "Fuck, $600. That's pretty good."
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're going for these days. I figure it's about the same.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
no worries there.
Yeah. Oh my
but
God.
so I was a mechanic, and I really enjoyed working with my hands, but I was restless and moved around a little bit. Wound up in Pittsburgh working I spent all my time Porsche, Volkswagen, primarily Audi. And I was working at a spot in Pittsburgh, and one day I was just like miserable. I remember I was putting a clutch in a Volkswagen Cabriolet.
Oh God!
Should take about 5 hours, and I was on day 3.
Oh my!
And I was just like, man, fuck this. I hate fixing cars. I was like 23 or something.
Yeah.
This is stupid. I'm gonna go to culinary school or something. And the dude that worked on the lift
or
next
something.
To me, yeah, the dude that worked on the lift next to me in his disgusting Pittsburgh accent. I was like, oh, yeah, my dad's a dean over there. I'll call him. And he called his dad. I went over to the culinary school the next day and signed up and went to culinary school just like that. And long story, less long, cooked for a while. Cooked for a few years. Did really well in culinary school. It's the only school I ever went to that I enjoyed and took serious and did well. And just got out of it. I did a million other things. Wound up in coffee about 10-ish years ago, 12 years ago. But food was always there. It was always my first thing. I just didn't want to be a chef. I wanted to own restaurants and create this experience for people. But I knew I needed to understand, everything that went into it.
Business, everything about
all of it. Yeah, I mean, it's
rent, insurance, employees, ordering.
Yeah, so I've had a crazy life, but I've done a lot of shit from auto mechanic to I was a bicycle messenger in Denver and in Austin. I owned a messenger company. It was my first business I ever had. I've done coffee everywhere I've been a construction foreman, like superintendent. What else? I don't know. I've done a bunch of stuff. And then, through doing all those things that seemed like dead ends at the time, which made me super anxious and depressed, like, oh, I'm a loser. I can't keep a job. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. I realized, like, no, man, that's life. Like, I continue to acquire these skills and sort of hone what it is I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And everything I've ever done has come back to this central theme of like, I like to create experiences for people. I like to make things better. Like when you're a mechanic, someone brings you their broken car, and for me, it's such a great feeling because like, yeah, I can fix this. Like I know what's wrong.
Yep.
I've got the parts. I can take this thing off. I can put this thing back on. And they're going to get their car back, and it's going to work. That makes me super happy. When I was a messenger, like people need crazy shit at the end of the day, like last minute. Like I need this at the courthouse in 4 minutes. Like yeah, okay. I mean, I love that. It makes me so happy to be able to just like
the fixer
do that. Yeah. So you apply that to the hospitality model, and it's limitless. It's like exactly what you said. You were totally cooked back from a long cold trip on the road.
Yeah.
Just like you just want to be cared for.
Yeah,
right? That's it.
Well, it was like a blanket on me on a cold night. Like, hey, come on back in from war, soldier. Because, I'm not saying doing comedy is like war, but it's brutal out there. You're around tons of people in airports and crazies, and then you've got to be on all the time for the fans that come out, and you can't just be like, hey, I'm burnt right now, get out of here. So when I get off the plane, I get to this neighborhood, it's my decompression, it's my full, it's like plugging back in and recharging the batteries. And then when I'm in there eating with you, I'm like, oh, this is what it's about, like a neighborhood, because I've lived in neighborhoods for years and don't know anyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's the defining, like our sort of defining feature of all time is it's not everything to everyone. It's something really, really special to a much smaller group of people.
Right.
And the people who get it, like, get it. And we get that. We get them, they get us, our crew. You know, we have the greatest guests in the world, which makes our crew super psyched to be there, which makes the guests even happier. And it's like this beautiful, virtuous cycle. And then every once in a while, someone comes in, just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And they usually come in entitled, and they have these expectations about what it should be like, and it just sucks because it's like, one, it's a miss for us, and I don't want to take someone's money for them to not have a good time. I'd rather they just looked around and said, "Oh, that's not my place." Hey, no worries. But man, when it works, it's so beautiful, and everyone is just so happy, and it just is like this self-fulfilling cycle that continues.
I always say I just want to make enough money in my career to where I could just eat there twice a day and just be good to go. You know,
Yeah.
like I want to describe this a little bit, this restaurant, before we get into more of what he's about. So it's basically around the corner from my house, and it was an old Japanese restaurant. And
Yeah, Japanese country cuisine.
yeah, and it just had this kind of shitty sign, and it looked like an old house or something with a kind of a front yard. And I just kind of, when I moved to the neighborhood, I like to go, okay, I'm trying every restaurant here. I don't Yelp. I don't look at fucking that shit. I'm going to look at try everyone. And then I'll go, okay, this place is where I go on Thursdays for my Chinese. This is where I go for my healthy bowl or whatever. So I roll in there, and immediately it had something that I usually hate. Order first, then sit down. I'm always like, fuck this, you know? But then I did it. I sat down and I ate, and I was like, oh, I'll be eating here forever. The music was fantastic. The clientele, the people in there were cool. There was all kinds of people that were just, you could just tell they're into good shit. And then I meet you, you're wearing basically everything I wear. I was like, this guy gets it. And then you got a 912, a green Porsche 912. I go, oh, fucking, this is everything. The only thing you were missing was a watch.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
My Ashley says I can't buy myself a watch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she says it's got to be a gift from her. So
All right.
she's looking. You guys should talk.
So, yeah, we should talk. So you're doing the coffee thing. You open your own coffee thing, and it's super successful, right?
Yeah, it's, truth be told, it was successful in everything but business. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't, we left, we did this at a time. I mean, we did some things really well. We got really lucky as far as timing goes. So no one, at the time, if anyone's a coffee nerd, you might be familiar with this, but you had Stumptown, you had Intelligentsia, you kind of had counterculture on the East Coast, and then a ton of little upstart roasters who have since become, sort of the backbone of the fancy coffee industry.
What's the good one in New York? I go there all the time, next to Supreme. They're from
La Colombe?
Yeah. Great one.
Yeah.
Great one.
Yeah, La Colombe is...
Boston, right?
Philadelphia,
Philly,
yeah. So I did all their sort of real estate development, like brought them out to L.A.
Wow.
Back when I was consulting. So great dudes. What a great crew. What a rad company. But, so you have La Colombe on the East Coast, who's just been sort of consistent and stayed the course for 20 plus years, which I have so much respect for those guys. But at the time, I think Intelligentsia represented the tip of the spear. No one had ever defected to do something, and we took me, who I was actually no one at the time, and now I'm still no one, but I'm no one with the microphone right now.
Yeah.
My buddy Michael Phillips, who at the time had just won the World Barista Championship. which was a big deal. He was the first American to ever win it. And then another guy named Chris, who was super stellar reputation in coffee. And the three of us quit Intelligentsia, and we had a little fun with it. We sort of synchronized our watches and all quit on the same day at the same time. And it was big. It was a big deal. It was national news. I think the New York Times had a coffee writer at the time, and they picked it up. And so we started this company called Handsome, and we nailed everything. It was super authentic, but the branding was done like it was so perfect, particularly for the time and the place. And just from a timing standpoint, I think the world was ready for something else. And so we left, and it was a big deal. And there, we had, so like an incredible amount of press and interest and support. And we just made a lot of really good decisions in that time. But it turns out most of us sucked at business,
right?
Mostly me. And so we made a lot of bad decisions too. We took a bunch of money from a bunch of weirdos. I don't know about weirdos. We didn't get along with our investors. There were weird expectations. Anyone who's dealt with investors, they usually want something that is
unobtainable
or dumb. Like, oh my, like if we had investors at all time, I can just imagine somebody like, I'm coming in to dinner with my kids. They really love pizza. Can you just make pizza for us?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man. Like,
we don't make pizza.
So
I'm
never
an investor. What are you talking? You make pizza.
Yeah, it's for my kids.
You work for me, boy. That kind of
more or less, yeah. So it was a really bad scene, and it really broke my heart. And some of the darkest days I've ever had were sort of at the tail end of that. So we basically fire sold it to Blue Bottle.
Oh wow,
coffee. In what was at the time like not a great deal, but for me, I was like, fuck it, I'll sign anything. Like I'm out of here. And I had my reputation mostly intact, and we didn't lose money. It was like some equity in Blue Bottle, a little bit of cash, but like not really anything. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm gonna go figure out what I'm doing with my life, right? And that every day of my life since then has been better, which is a really interesting thing that I think is. I have a couple friends who are in this scenario where they're like started something and they have partners or investors and they're just in hell.
Yeah.
But they think it's their identity and like, well, I don't have anything else to do. I can't leave, but I can't stay. And it's the worst feeling.
You can always start over, man.
Yeah, you can always. I mean, that's what I tell them. I got a buddy who also makes shoes. My buddy Joshua has a company called Helm Boots, and he just left. He just resigned from it after we talk on the phone every day for 2 years almost about investors and challenges and stuff. And he finally was like, I can't do it. Like, best of luck to you guys, but I'm gonna resign. I hope the company's great. And I just talked to him this morning, and he's in heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a difficult decision, but
yeah, like look at me. I did one thing for my whole life, and then when that dried up, I was like, oh shit, man, what am I gonna do? I just thought it was over with, and then you go do something else, and you're like, oh, well, this is a million times better than what I was doing. And it's really an eye-opener. People are afraid, and I always say mostly because of credit card debt and afraid to fail. And if you're afraid to fail, you're never going to get anywhere because the easy stuff is not enjoyable, which is just your day-to-day job. Oh, I went and got a job, and this is what I do.
Yeah.
Now, if you do that and you love it, that's great. But I'm talking about the people that are afraid to fail. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to fail to end up doing something you love.
Yeah, it's a difficult cliche, and I've failed many, many times, and never in the moment did I enjoy it. But at this moment, as we sit here, like I couldn't be more thankful. I mean, even the end of the Handsome days when I had, no joke, like less than $50 in the world.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't pay my bills. I didn't have a car. Like it was scary shit,
Yeah, yeah.
But at the time, the only thing I could tell myself was like, this is just part of my story, and I'm probably not going to die, probably not going to go to jail. So I'll figure it out from there. And, having good people in your life and people who support you and believe in you goes a long way. But those are hard decisions. That's like the gut check time, but you don't get a do-over.
No, you don't.
And it's at this point, the value in learning from that stuff, it will carry me so far forward in life. I mean, all of the shit that I ate all along that journey led us to a place where we sort of lucked out. So the way that story ends is that Blue Bottle got bought by Nestle, I had like this tiny little piece of Blue Bottle equity that was like worth nothing, and Nestle paid a lot of money for Blue Bottle and bought out all the investors.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so
Nestle bought those guys, huh? Wow.
So I just get a phone call and like, hey, where should we send this check? And I was like, well, what? Huh? And they're like, yeah, this deal is like done. So you're getting paid out in X number of weeks or something.
Was it a big number?
Yeah, it was. It was a big number. I mean, it wasn't millions, but it was a few $100,000.
That's great, though. And $300,000 from something that you would have just walked away from, just if you could just be even.
Exactly. And I just when it happened, when we left Handsome, when I left Handsome, I just thought, you know what, someday I'll get a call that Blue Bottle's gone public, and I'll like get $100,000, but hopefully my life will be fine. So it was for the first time in my life, I was doing fine. I was consulting. It was good. I didn't need anything. This money like kind of showed up, and it wasn't going to change the clothes I wear, the car I drive. It wasn't going to change anything. And it was almost like, it was weird, right? Because I've never been successful.
Yeah.
You know, I had just like started tasting being comfortable, and I thought that this is kind of stressful because I don't know. I grew up poor, so I don't know what to do with money, right?
I'm the same way. And then all of a sudden you're like, do I just sit back on $200,000? That burns through nowhere, you know?
Yeah, I got to buy something, right? I got to buy something right now.
8 watches.
Yeah.
All right, 8 watches.
So at literally the same week, my buddy Nathan McCall, who owns McCall's up the street, called me because they owned the cafe, and I'd done their coffee program, and he called me and was like, hey, someone offered to buy the cafe. I know you guys love it. I'd rather sell it to you. Are you interested? And it truly, this was like 6 days after I get the news from Blue Bottle that they're getting bought out. And I was like, yeah, man. So we just basically took that check and wrote pay to the order of, the McCalls.
Yeah.
Just fucking bought it. We put every nickel we have in the universe into this place and pulled it off with no investors. So this happened in mid-November. And so this is November 20, 17, 18, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. 2 years ago. And we had like 4 weeks to get this deal done and take over the restaurant. So
wow.
So it happened in like 6 weeks. So we didn't have time to think about what our concept was, what we want to do. I used to just...
You're just going for it. I love it.
Yeah.
All in.
And we were only open days for the first little while, so I would work all day, and then I would come, roll out the tools and put on my tool belt, and I built everything in that restaurant overnight, like every night. So I'd get in there and like build a shelf and build some tables and put up some shiplap and change this. And so we didn't have any money, and it was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And it was a slow build, and now we're in a spot where it's obviously busy. I have to admit it's successful, but we don't take it for granted. And I think its success is in its sort of honesty and in its authenticity that it is. It's me and Ashley. Like we put our whole world into that thing.
Yeah.
And if we came up snake eyes, we'd have been.
So all time was McCall's.
They had it for 2 years before
and they just kept the Asian restaurant sign also. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So we were gonna keep it, and then what happened was people would come in for dinner.
Yeah.
And sit down, and we pour them water, and then give them menus, and they would go, "Oh, this isn't sushi."
Yeah.
And say, no. And people say it's incredible because it's been 4 years now since it's been a Japanese restaurant, minimum.
Yeah.
And they'll come in, but we're regulars. We come in here all the time.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's true. But
I love it.
But so we were going to put up. So I wanted to avoid that. People would then leave, and I don't know. It's just irritated. It actually hurt my feelings because I take it so personal. Our little restaurant.
Yeah.
So I had our designer make a sign that looked exactly the same as the old Japanese sign, but just change it to say, all time.
Yeah.
Instead of Japanese country cuisine, it was like California backyard cuisine. And it was the most like, I just looked at it. I had her make it in like Japanese characters,
Yeah.
And it was like it was so wrong. It felt so racially just like inflammatory, and what was like I was
and this time it's like, what's with your race of inappropriate
your
sign?
racist sign. I could just imagine that the headline on Eater. But so we were already sort of committed to changing the sign, so we just did it, and it's affected nothing other than people don't leave anymore. So
yeah, the new sign looks great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same sign. I love the whole restaurant because it's like, I guess the nice way to put it would be like wabi-sabi, Like, it's a shitty little building.
Yeah.
But I love the
But
shittiness.
it's got some kind of
so
vibe
much
in there,
character.
man.
Yeah,
Oh, it's insane.
I mean, I just wouldn't know what to do if everything was new and fancy, and if I hadn't built it personally. And there's not a 90-degree angle in the whole building, and I just love how funky it is. And for us, being like restricted by space, by what you have to cook on, we have, you probably have more power in your house available than we do in that entire restaurant. Like,
Right.
You've got to be creative, and you've got to be thoughtful about every single decision you make, versus having a ton of money and unlimited kitchen, unlimited whatever. I think you get spread a little bit wide and lose a little bit of the focus about what you do. Maybe that's not true in all cases, but
When you got into the restaurant, you were only open for breakfast and lunch for a long time. What was it was just kind of I love your saying of like, hey man, we're just cooking. But was there any idea of like, okay, what are we going to make? What are we American food? Are we going to be California cuisine? Are we going to be Hispanic, tacos? Or what was the idea behind putting together the menu, which changes all the time anyway? But what did you want to cook? Were you the cook also, or did you hire people?
We hired people. I haven't cooked professionally in a kitchen for a very long time, so that probably wouldn't go very well. And then beyond that, it's a full-time and a half job. So with all the everything else I have to manage.
Yeah.
We had lunch today, and you could see it's just like getting pinged every 5 seconds with something that doesn't lend itself to being, tied to the kitchen. But, for the last bunch of years, we used to live over here in Atwater, and we had this beautiful backyard, and we just cook at night, cook outside we had a wood burning pizza oven or a green egg or some kind of grill, and we just you go to the farmer's market. We live in Southern California. It's unbelievable what we have access to.
Yeah.
And we buy meat or fish from somebody we know, somebody you trust, and you just cook it. Sometimes you just buy something and you go, if we put some chili de arbol on that and maybe some citrus and so you get a little influence. I live in Texas for a long time. I live in Colorado. There's a heavily, sort of Central American influence in a lot of what I like to cook and eat. But you can still do it. It's just so simple, right? It's got to be simple. You get this incredible produce. You got to get out of the way. You can add a little bit of citrus. We had that cauliflower the other night, right?
Unbelievable.
Just get out of the way. Some cauliflower lends itself to taking a beating, just this beautiful char, and then it becomes this natural sweetness. You give a little citrus to balance out the sweetness, and boom, you're done.
I hated it all my life.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that people were just making it wrong.
Yeah.
Cauliflower, you look at it, it looks like an old wart.
Yeah.
I had a wart on my thumb when I was growing up. It looked just like that. I was just like, gross. Cauliflower. And now I eat the shit out of it. Kale, cauliflower. I had turnips there last night. I never ate this shit before.
Right, because they're usually boiled and mushy. So I think it's really more about what we try to do, and this sounds a little bit douchey, but you just show off what the farmers are doing.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to grow a vegetable than it is to cook it. And we have access to the most incredible shit. I get the market reports, and farmers send us pictures of stuff, and they're so proud. It's so cool to see. And there is incredible, the greatest food I've ever had. You can just go get it. You can go get it right out of the dirt.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And
out of the dirt.
So there's a big responsibility to get out of the way. I'm not going to take somebody's hard work. We used to talk about this in coffee all the time too. Is I'm not going to take someone's hard work and put some spin on it and make it better. I'm just going to try to represent it how I think how it could be best.
Yeah. At what point that you're open? So you got $200,000. I don't know what you bought the place for, but was the whole check into that? And then you were just hand to mouth every day. At what point does it start to take off?
It was literally if this place doesn't make money in 4 weeks, if it doesn't turn the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that we were going to close, but we were going to have to go to the bank or call someone and try to borrow some money or do something, right? And I'm so anti-investment that it was just talk about fear of failure and putting your balls on the table. That, yeah. So, Ashley and I worked every day to save on labor. We hired a few people, and it every day was a little bit busier and a little bit busier and a little bit busier. So it was trending well, right? There were a lot of people in the neighborhood who were, not a lot, but some people in the neighborhood who were really devastated, which I think is weird because we just took this thing that we loved and sort of kept it going and wanted to just, all we wanted to do is make it better.
Right.
Sometimes people have a hard time with change. I don't think we're some soulless corporation, at least not yet.
Yeah. Well, people are also crazy too. Like I call it the CBGB effect. They're like, CBGB, man, fucking John Varvatos went in there, fuck that place. And it's like, hey, you understand that it was empty for like 5 years? The guy had to sell it. Same with your guy. He's like, hey, I got to get out of here. It's like, it's like gone. It would be gone, the restaurant.
And he could have sold it to Panda Express or somebody else. And he called us. He was like, I know you guys love this place.
Yeah.
I want you to take it. Like, let's figure it out.
Well, this street definitely has this vibe of, I grew up in San Francisco. They had a law when I was growing up in the 60s, 70s, no fast food and everything. So there was like, I think in the 17-mile radius, there was one McDonald's, one Jack in the Box in the entire city. So growing up, I ate in all these restaurants that are like yours. Jimmy and his mom's place, and
Right.
Billy's Pizza, and Stan's Raviolis, all this. And this street, we're in LA, and there is no fast food on this street. It's beautiful.
Oh, every restaurant is independent, and they're not even part of like a bigger restaurant group. It's like one-off restaurants that have been here, or businesses in general. I mean, this neighborhood, what I love about it and where I started was talking about growing up in small town USA, is I never thought I would live in Los Angeles ever. Even when I moved here, I thought I would just turn around and go home after 2 weeks. It's been 10 years. But what we managed to do, exactly what you're talking about, is turn it into a small town.
Yeah.
Like, this is our little small town.
It really is, man.
Yeah, you got your butcher shop, you got your little grocery, you got your juice place, you got your coffee place, you got your cafe.
It's insane.
Like, everything you need, you go to a great wine shop. Everything you need is right here. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody supports everyone else. We had to borrow linens from Little Dom's the other day, which I thought was just so charming and kind of them. They couldn't have given them to us fast enough.
I love that guy that owns that.
Yeah, it's just great.
Especially in this city where it's so loony, to where I can't tell people how vital it is for me to be able to be in the lunacy of show business, and then to be able to come home and hang out with just people that aren't fucking kooks.
Yeah, man. This is just such a safe haven of a neighborhood. It's so I don't know. It's a little village.
It really is. Let me ask you this. So I was talking to you for a second, and I didn't break it out, but I ate at one of the greatest restaurants I ate at in the last 5 years, probably, in Cleveland, called Greenhouse, owned by a guy named Jonathan Sawyer, who was Mark Maron's friend. And Mark's like, we got to go to Sawyer's place, man. It's great. They got this killer shit. And we went there, and we had one of the greatest meals I've had in years. And I was hanging with him, and he was in great spirits, and he was saying restaurants are brutal and everything, but no sign at all or anything. We just ate, had a great time, and then the next day, out of nowhere, a press release, they're closing on Valentine's Day. I've always wondered this, because I do not know, how is there money in restaurants? How is there fucking money in restaurants? That Seinfeld episode? Oh, that was Billy's Cantina. Oh, that was Jimmy's Ribs. Oh, that was Fontaine's Fondue. Yeah, whatever. How, because just turn and burn. Then other restaurants like Little Dom's, let's say that. Let's say, stuff like in LA or San Francisco that's there forever. Mm-hmm. How do you make money?
So, obviously, this is always an interesting conversation, right? I think I have this conversation with people in fashion. I have this conversation, I'm sure, that show business is the same. Like, nothing's a cakewalk, right?
Nothing.
Everything is really challenging. So there is, at least for us, and I'm no expert, we happen to have figured out the answer to this riddle specifically. We're about to open another restaurant. I take nothing for granted, and it's going to be a different ball game, right? So,
And you could potentially lose both from opening another one.
let's not get crazy. But
No, but I'm saying, you know,
no,
how
I
people-
mean, it's
I'm saying, you know,
you gotta do some things to protect yourself. But we're going. It's the same thing. Like, we don't have any investors. We're going all in again on this new restaurant with money out of our pockets, and it's scary, but it also keeps you honest. And every dollar that gets spent, you think about it.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that that's a different game when you're playing with someone else's money. When you have an investor and you're going to look at a bid for plumbing, you're not really going to think about like, well, I need this $80 is $80, right?
Yeah.
And
you're like,
so
just throw the pipes in.
Yeah. Let's just get it done. So I don't think that that's a real epidemic. I've just found that to be true in my experience. But the way restaurants work is, one, you have to be busy. Two, you have to. I think the difference for me, and this is what we're seeing, you got to keep it small and scrappy. I think it costs. Let's say you want to go out and open a restaurant today, and I think you'd probably be looking at raising $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of food.
More or less.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to start from the ground up, and that's not what we're going to spend on this new restaurant, but it's expensive, right? So,
yeah. And that's everything, right? It's like insurance, construction, signage.
Yeah, I think that's like
employees.
to kick the doors open.
Right.
So first you got to think about, what do you got to do to earn $1 million back?
Yeah.
Before you really, like, if you're borrowing $1 million from someone,
yeah,
obviously most of that should get paid back to them before you take much money. So one, that's crazy to borrow $1 million for something that, who knows? I mean, you've seen it as well as I have. People do everything right, and their restaurant fails.
Absolutely.
Or you have some place that's horrible, and is line out the door all day long.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. So part of it, there's just dumb luck. We happen to be in an absolutely perfect neighborhood. We didn't understand that, even though we live nearby. We didn't understand that when we opened. But, costs have to stay low. I look at a lot of restaurant deals. I see these lease numbers. We were talking about them earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pretty easily pay $20,000 a month.
That's fucking crazy.
It's suicidal.
$20,000 a month just for your rent, not your employees, not your supplies, not your insurance, not your anything.
Yeah.
Not even the toilet paper. People think they forget everything in that fucking place you pay for.
Yeah, you pay for it. And you think about, if you run through a restaurant P&L, and this is a little nerdy, but you can figure 2% of every dollar you make is going to get spent on paper.
Wow. 2% of every dollar.
Yeah. I mean, our paper costs about 2%, 2.2 or something like that. So toilet paper, napkins, to-go cups, straws, whatever it is. Gloves, you need to work clean.
Hairnets.
Yeah, all of it. All of it's crazy. So you get that. You got, in California, we're coming up on July, $15 an hour minimum wage.
Whoa, that's coming on, huh?
Yeah. We're at 14 and a quarter right now. So even on tipped servers who sometimes make
even
a lot
on
of money.
tip servers.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So
because that used to be different. Tip servers were $3.30 or $4 an hour.
$7 maybe, whatever. And I don't have an opinion either way. We work really, really hard to make sure everyone is paid beyond a living wage.
Yeah.
And that it's an equitable business, but it comes right down to high prices. And people bristle at our prices sometimes, but there is, if you don't have high prices, you're not going to make it.
I wanted to say that too, because there are the mentality of, wait a minute, $14 for eggs. I get these at Denny's for $2.99, the Grand Slam. And that is, I think, the real difference I've always had for me of like, wait, you paid such and such for those boots, or that denim is this, but it's like, yeah, but what you don't understand is we're only here once, and I want quality.
Right.
And especially food.
Yeah, and we're insane about where our stuff comes from, and we're always looking for what's next and what's better. And we talked about this idea, and this is our opportunity to put our money where our mouth is and really live by it. But part of owning this restaurant is contributing to what we call the greater good, right? And we need to do right by our neighborhood. We need to do right by our guests, which is to make sure that we have a commitment to sustainable ingredients and the highest quality everything we can get, and delivering on that service experience, right? You should have a special experience when you come into the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Every time. And it's going to be a little bit different every time, but you should feel welcome and you should feel like there's a value, right? We need to do right by our staff. We need to pay them enough money to live in the second most expensive city in America. And I don't want our dishwashers to have 3 jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I want a dishwasher to be able to work 40, 45 hours a week and make enough money to pay their rent and have a life.
That's dope.
Yeah, and it's super important. And then we want to do right by the earth. So we try not to buy bullshit. I mean, we don't buy bullshit, right? But we try not to...
Is it farm to table? Is it basically...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we buy absolutely everything we can possibly get from farmers.
Yeah.
Right? So some things are hit or miss, some things are seasonal, but realistically, we're in the mid 90% of everything that hits your plate comes from a farmer we know.
Wow. What was that bullshit about a year ago with the avocados? Because it seemed to be all of a sudden Trump said this, there was going to be no avocados, but it didn't go down, but avocados stayed up.
Yeah, avocados, we were up to about $4 an avocado for a little bit.
Yeah, but why was that? Because nothing happened.
I could only speculate, and I probably shouldn't, but they're politics. I mean, most avocados seasonally in the winter come from Mexico.
Yeah.
So there are various factors at work in Mexico controlling the flow of, supply and demand.
Yeah.
So I think the avocado farmers were a little incensed. I think some of the people who run the economy in Mexico were a little incensed. So they're still running pretty hot. But avocados, they're expensive. They're just expensive to begin with.
No, God, they're great.
But you get stuff like that. You get egg shortages. You get crazy stuff happens. I mean, fortunately, working with farmers, we're totally insulated from any kind of insane E. coli outbreak and
thank God.
Weird lettuce. I mean, we know where everything comes from, and there's no crazy supply chain. If something's wrong, then I call a farmer and say, hey, is everything cool? And they say, yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. Now, your restaurant, which I love, is a lot like the Grateful Dead, meaning different set list every night. You guys have a different menu all the time. It's handwritten. It's up on the wall. There it is what we got. And if you don't like it, oh, well, this is come next week then. We might have something you dig. But I love that concept big time until you fall in love with something. And then you're like, hey, well, where's this? Right. I had the short rib a couple nights ago. It fucking knocked me out. How does that go for you? Do you find that people enjoy different stuff all the time and being kind of keeping it fresh?
Yeah, the original idea, we kicked around 100 different ideas, but it was a different menu every night. It was like 3 courses, like eat this or don't. We ate at a couple of restaurants in Europe that were just small, humble, and like, we're cooking this tonight. And if you want it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. There's other restaurants, right?
Yeah.
But not super practical. So we expanded a little bit. And there's some hits that don't change.
Yeah, like the sticky rice one.
Yeah, and the branzino, and we do the focaccia and a few salad. Salad changes seasonal different stuff in it, but it's the same salad, right? But I think it's just fun.
Yeah,
it's just fun, and part of it
you don't become a robot.
Yeah, exactly, and part of it is like we try to buy, like our pork, we buy half pigs. And we just fabricate them into what we can get out of them. So some nights it's a porterhouse, some nights it's a chop, some nights it's a shoulder, some nights it's a belly. And we try. It doesn't. Those are the places with having limited storage. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we have to buy cuts, but it's what we try to do. It just gives us a chance to mix it up and see what works. And then the ultra hits will always return, right? Like we do an octopus, which I think is incredible, that happens a week every 2 months and that kind of stuff. So it's fun. And we try to cook with the seasons. Summertime you want to eat lighter and fresher, and wintertime braised short rib is ideal.
That thing is giant and good.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, all of our animals are pastured, which they're a little harder to raise. It takes a little bit longer, and they're a little bit harder to get access to. And you talk about this commodity stuff, and they're slaughtering 10,000 animals a day. It's easy to get whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
You get the same filet mignon every day for the rest of the time. But when you're talking about pasture-raised animals, there's a little more inconsistency in both the, how the meat is based on the seasons, and what cuts you can get. And sometimes people are out of stuff. And I love that. And I want to respect that and respect the supply chain and not encourage people to change their farming and ranching practices so that we can get consistent short ribs or whatever.
Yeah. Now, you and I are kind of, we share conversations on health and stuff. And I don't know how you got into it, but I, of course, had gotten diabetes and then beat that and started to learn way deep into my body. And now I've got a little bit of high blood pressure, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that down with no medication and stuff. But did you have some health problems, or what was going on?
I didn't have health problems. I started reading and kind of became a health nerd maybe about 8 years ago. And obviously, you know this, and anyone who's waded into it knows this. It's complicated.
Yeah.
So a little story about me. I grew up in the outdoors. My dad was an avid outdoorsman, cyclist, hiker, like crazy fit my whole life. Dropped dead of a heart attack at 59.
Wow.
Like no warning signs, no nothing.
Silent killer.
Yeah. I heard this other day though, it's like entry level cardiology class or whatever, like professor says, hey, what's the first warning sign, most common warning sign of heart disease? People are like chest pain, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, sudden death. 30%. You just fucking die.
Yeah.
So what happened was my dad had high cholesterol. So as doctors do, we'll just put you on a statin. Well, statin's working. Your numbers are lower. They look at, this little snapshot here and say, well, these 3 numbers look good. So you got nothing to worry about. And clearly not correct. So I started reading and I started learning and I started talking to some really smart people. And we actually got a brilliant doctor. I talked to a doctor in San Diego, a guy named Peter Attia, who I think is like at the absolute tip of the spear for longevity and cardiology and just like a very nuanced understanding of how to live both a long life and a good life. And one of his mentors is a woman named Tara Dahl, Dr. Tara Dahl, who I just reached out to one day. I guess I had been to a doctor, and I went to a doctor in Beverly Hills who was a really likable guy. So got this total workup, had high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So I go see a cardiologist at Cedars, presumably the best cardiologist in the city, and get a stress test done. I get a CT scan. I get like everything you could possibly do. Like, tell me what's going on. And I'm fucking terrified, like a dog at the vet, because I haven't been to the doctor in 25 years. Right.
I was the same way.
So yeah. So I'm thinking I'm getting a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're plaqued up. You're as good as dead. We're going to put you on high dose statins, 7 different things a day. But I'm all right. I'm doing okay. So I emailed Dr. Dahl on her sort of general inquiry line. She emails me back in like 45 minutes.
Wow.
And just sort of like put the digital arm around me and said, hey, like, I think we understand. I think we're gonna figure this out. So I'd get a bunch of blood work and we talk about all of my concerns, and she's just so patient, and I'm learning a ton about blood, but I'm not on a statin. She has me on niacin.
Niacin,
which is
for high blood pressure?
For the other one. What do you call
cholesterol?
it? There you go, cholesterol.
Yeah, wow.
And it's working. So we get blood drawn every quarter just because it's kind of fun, and I've turned the corner from being afraid of my health, to feeling like I'm going to take charge of this.
Yeah. I got to get into that, because I was just talking to you about it. Like, once I found out I got a little bit of high blood pressure, there's the new reader right there.
Right, yeah, I have the same one.
Oh, how is it? I haven't broke it out yet because I'm so fucking paranoid. And then all of a sudden now I'm dealing with some serious panic attacks and anxiety in the last 6 weeks or so. And it's pretty fucking fierce when it comes on. I'm like, whoa, because I am afraid to die.
Sure.
And that is because I'm so happy. I wouldn't have minded 10 years ago if I died. Fuck it, had a good run. But now I have these great friends. I have this great love of life of doing stand-up comedy and this podcast and this neighborhood and everything. I'm like, fuck, I gotta keep it together,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of high blood pressure, you're going to be able to weather it. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I feel like you got to strike a balance. Like I spent a long time, kind of back in that period where Handsome was going to shit. I was broke, terrified, hadn't been to a doctor, hadn't been to a dentist.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was inconsolable, right?
Yeah.
And since then, I've just sort of taken those steps and done the scary shit, which is you go to a dentist.
Oh yeah,
So
I love the dentist.
I do now.
I'm there all the time. My buddy Dr. Shaylin, who's also a comedian and opens for me. Shaylin McDonough, great dentist, and he fucking just But I was going to a dentist before him, and I had him on my dentist because he blows out all the scammers. But they're like, ooh, a lot of plaque here. This plaque is going to go into your heart.
Right.
We got to do this $2,000 power wash, and then you get all like, plaque in my heart from my teeth, what the fuck, and then later you go, this is all fucking scare tactics, but that statin shit and all that. I was just reading a big story here on how to lower your blood pressure from food, and it's bananas, it's magnesium, it's potassium, water. I drink gallons of water.
The salt is soluble in water, so that's I was telling you, I was listening to a podcast the other day, Dr. Peter Attia. So he gets on these like super experts, and there was one about blood pressure the other day, and I thought of you because we had this conversation. And what's interesting is it's just knowledge, right? The podcast doesn't culminate in like, so here's what you do to lower your blood, because we can't give medical advice on a podcast. I can.
Yeah.
The MDs
can. Yeah. I do all the time.
Yeah, perfect. But
get off the goddamn cigarettes and booze.
There you go. It was really enlightening to just hear. I love listening to this stuff that is just a practical approach to like, a lot of it in a sense is common sense, and exactly what you've done is like, well, let me get all this shit out of my life.
Totally.
And let me eat real food. Let me drink water. Let me just sort of eliminate some of these negative factors. And
what was he saying? Water was the main one?
Well, it talked about drinking water before you eat food, right? And it's again, I'm not going to be able to really articulate it well because I'm not a doctor, but I do have a GED.
I got to hear that.
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can link to it or something if people want to listen to it. But it's so fascinating, that stuff. So, I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be.
Yeah.
But it's been really interesting to just sort of, now that I have a little bit of confidence and I don't think I'm going to die right now.
Yeah.
Right? Despite my family history, it feels really good to be in a position to take charge of it and to get my blood drawn, and me and Ashley both, and just to go through like, okay, well, here's, Ashley, she's nothing. She's in perfect health. But
yeah. But she's definitely like the boss.
Yeah, for sure.
She doesn't let you dick off and talk to me.
No, she doesn't. She actually doesn't know I'm here, so we need to speak a little quieter. But it's just having someone who's like an advocate instead of a doom and gloom. Like, well, you got to get on statins. You got to get you on. We got to do it right away.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, look, if I put you on a statin, like these 3 numbers that everyone looks at, that they don't understand, will certainly go down. But let's scroll down here to page 3. And see this thing? This is your risk factor. Right. And we're going to target that, and it's not with the statin. The statin's going to make that go up.
Oh, shit.
So it's really interesting. I mean, there's, and this is Peter Tia will say this, and my doctor to an extent, but there's a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people really don't understand cardiology, lipidology. So I think really drilling down to find the truth and being your own advocate. Ashley's mom also died at 69 of a heart attack with quote unquote perfect numbers on a half dose of statin. And it's just like, you've got to get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? And that's like part of this.
Where's that lady in San Diego? Where do you go for your doctor?
Actually, it's all virtual. So she works out. She travels the world. She speaks all over, but.
So you get your blood done and send it to her?
Yeah, someone comes to the house, draws our blood. We send a kit off, and we have a Skype call and review everything.
Wow.
It's incredible.
I got to talk to her.
I'll introduce you. She's
That'd be
affordable.
fantastic.
I have never had more confidence in my health, and just like I have this calmness, and I think like for your blood pressure stuff, like I think even if you just talk to her and she would just say, look, let me just make sense of it for you, right? Because once you understand it, and that's always been my problem.
That is the problem.
People dying under the care of a so-called doctor.
Yeah, that's my fear.
Yeah, same. It's fucking terrifying.
I took it straight on with the diabetes. They're like, well, it's going to be $800 a month. You got to take these pills for the rest of your life. And after these pills kind of get immune, then you might have to go to needles. And I was like, wait a minute. Well, hold on here a second. There's no other choice. The guy goes, well, I don't know. But this is here. Grab the brochures.
I was on a trip with a guy last year. It was a little motorcycle trip. And this guy's like 46 or something. And we get to talking about nutrition and health. And he was like, yeah, I used to have like chronic heartburn. Oh, yeah. So I go see my doctor. I was like, man, this is killing me. Like, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm going to prescribe you Tagamet or something, right? And is the show sponsored by Tagamet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I'm going to prescribe
I'm going to lose that. I'm going to lose my sponsor, dude.
Shit. All right, well, we'll fix it in post.
No.
And so he's taking it for a while, and then this guy figures out, well, it's just garlic, right? Garlic's giving me heartburn. So he goes back to the doctor like 6 months later, and the guy's like, yeah, how's your heartburn? He's like, well, I figured out it's just garlic, so I just don't eat garlic, and it's no problem. And the doctor is like perplexed. He was like, no, man, just take the pill so you can eat garlic.
Fuck that.
And I said, what?
Yeah.
Where are we?
It's
what
insane.
Has happened?
That's what my doctor said when I lost the 40 pounds and came in. I saw his face. It was like he saw a ghost. He goes like, whoa. And I go, what? Like I was all scared. Like, what's wrong? Because I had lost 40.
Right.
And he goes, I tell people every day in here, they have diabetes and they just go, cool, give me the pills and keep eating pizza. No one makes a change. He goes, I haven't seen this in a long time. It's like, well, fuck, man. I don't like anything I'm eating more than doing stand-up. I don't like
or
pizza
being alive.
Or being alive. I don't like candy more than being alive. And at points I did think I did, like, well, fuck, I cut all this out. What's the point of being alive? I'm not even living. But then you're like, oh, I am living. It's getting better and better. And now I find it like I eat these fresh strawberries and I'm like, God, this is candy. I used to eat strawberry Starburst.
Right.
Plastic.
Laffy Taffy.
Just plastic I'm eating.
Yeah. And I go through phases, especially being in the restaurant where I'm around cookie dough mostly.
Oh my God.
And that, dude, it is my kryptonite. Like,
yeah.
I will be on the straight and narrow for 3 weeks. And then somebody will be making cookie dough, and I'll eat 2 pounds of it. I will eat it for dinner. Like it will ruin, but to the point, it is fucking powerful.
It is,
man. Sugar.
I quit cocaine, cigarettes, booze. What else? I don't know. I quit the craziest shit and sugar. You know why? Because we've been eating sugar since we're 1.
Right.
You haven't been doing coke since you're 1 year old.
Speak for yourself.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
It's in your goddamn DNA.
Yeah. It's evolutionary. Like if it's sweet, it can't be bad for you. Except maybe that's not true.
Now, you opened the place next to your restaurant called Part Time. So your restaurant, I want to tell everybody, is called All Time. One shop over, they just opened this place 3 weeks ago called Part Time, and it's a phone and pickup place that is also amazing. If you're just off work and you go, man, I just want to grab some food and go home and eat, or you got some date you want to, act like you cooked up a mean meal or whatever, you go to Part Time, which is great, and it's open Monday through Friday.
Yeah, Monday through Friday right now. And
that's all orders now. And then you're going to open a new restaurant in Glasgow Park. Mm-hmm. What is going to be the menu and style of that?
Yeah, so Glasgow is going to be like we're building it, which I swore to God I would never do business with the city of LA in that capacity again, but here we are. Speaking of high blood pressure.
Oh fuck.
But we're right there. We're start construction tomorrow or Monday. And this is the dream restaurant. This is the only restaurant I've ever wanted to do, and it is back to that conversation about sort of restricting yourself and forcing creativity and thoughtfulness. So it's going to be this beautiful old building. I think it was built in the 20s, 17-foot ceilings, like just stunning. And it's going to be only fire, like not supplement other stuff with fire. But if you can't build a fire and cook it, then you can't cook it.
It's only fire cooked.
Yeah, so we have a big fireplace, like a 7.5, 8 foot wide hearth.
Wow.
Like a huge fireplace, and then we have a big wood burning oven.
Wow.
So we're going to figure out how to cook I have a bunch of cook friends and chef friends that it's always the what ifs. Like, what if you want to make a stock? Build a fire.
Really?
Make a stock on it.
Just like, some straight up like fucking camping
just like
style.
rustic. Like, I love rustic food. I love food with texture and some smoke and just being limited and having to figure out like, I'm going to take this thing. I'm going to go buy this thing. I'm going to go see Kong at the farmer's market. I'm going to buy a bunch of beautiful vegetables, and I'm going to come back to this fire, and I'm going to figure out what to do with them, right? We're going to buy a half a pig, and we're going to fabricate it into pieces. I'm going to figure out how to grill these chops, but then we need to figure out how to slow roast or braise the belly or whatever it is, and still do it with finesse, right? And still, like, when it hits your table, you go, shit, that looks good. That tastes good, but to do it just to strip it down to the barest necessity, which is just fire.
Well, that also comes down to the outfits we wear, just the bare necessities, and also just the greatest of not ingredients, but materials.
Totally.
So a great pair of denim, a great boot, a great black T-shirt, and you're good for life.
Totally. Yeah, and you don't need 10 of them, and you don't need...
I know.
I don't need... Even though I might have it, you don't need blue and black and a different blue and another blue.
I know.
It's just like, I tend to wear the same outfit, maybe different jacket, but
I wear the same outfit the entire, if I'm on tour, entire tour. I'm wearing this jean for 1 year. I bought it, and I'm going to wear it for the whole year and see what happens.
That's the stuff. I was just, when we travel, like, same thing. I don't need to take anything, we'll travel to Europe for a month, and I'll take a backpack, and then I'll come back and be like, oh, I didn't wear any of this.
I know, right? Yeah. Same way. What? Real quick before we get out of here, give me the story on your 912 you have, and how many Porsches did you have since the first one that you flipped?
This is the first one, and you understand as well as I do, and we don't quite have the means, but it's a problem because you got to have an old one, but then you got to have a little more of a driver.
Yeah, I want a 992.
Yeah,
a new one. God damn.
Yeah, I want a 993.
Oh yeah.
I want the 912 and 993, and then I'd like to get an SC somewhere in the middle, just like the all-time. To me, those are the all-time classic, iconic. Like, I grew up staying up late at night when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, and just like drawing Porsche. I used to draw Porsches and Air Jordans.
Yeah.
And that's what my brother and I did for fun. So that like mid 80s kind of SC.
I love it.
But yeah.
79, 80.
Yeah.
Those right around there, the last years of the SC.
78's my birth year. Jeff Lifter just had that. Did you ever see that camel colored one he had?
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was my birth year, but I bought this 912 because I couldn't sit still. But the 912 is great because it's like a little rat rod. Like, it's got some patina, it's got some dents.
It's 4-cylinder.
Yeah, 4-cylinder, 4-speed.
And the paint is super patinaed. It's almost puzzled.
It is.
Like it shrunk onto the car.
Every time I have it polished, everything comes back. It's like, it looks perfect.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, it's like puzzle pieces. But I like, someone told me one time that when you buy 911, the first thing you should do is just kick a dent in the door.
Oh.
Because they're made for driving. They're made like that car. If I let it sit for 6 weeks or 4 weeks, it's all pissed off. But if I drive it every day, I can't imagine anything's ever going to go wrong with it.
Oh my God.
It's the most reliable. Like, it just starts up and it's like so perfect under the hood. Like, the thing runs like a top.
Yeah.
And it's just got the right amount of patina. I don't ever want to do anything to it.
No.
And then eventually we'll get the little more of, not quite, I'll never have a show car, but something a little more.
Yeah, like a
polished.
sweet 993.
Yeah.
You got to go 95 on the 993.
Yeah.
You can't get any of the other four.
No OBD2.
Yeah, you don't want that because, you run into the smog problems and then they got to do a top end on it, and then you're just fucked. You're looking at a $12,000 smog check, so get a 95.
All right. We have a regular who has that sweet black one you've probably seen around the neighborhood. She's about ready to sell, so.
Ooh.
So we'll see what happens. Might have to take an investor on the new restaurant.
Yeah. What is the new restaurant called?
We actually aren't sure yet. So there's a few names floating around.
That's tough, right?
Yeah,
it's like naming a band.
Yeah, exactly. I think ultimately it actually doesn't matter, which is probably similar to naming a band.
That's what you call it. It doesn't matter.
There you go.
How great would that be? Hey, I'm eating over. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll see if anyone turns up.
Yeah, you can call it Dark Fonzie. That's Mark Maron and I's cover band, Dark Fonzie.
Maybe you guys can play the opening party.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
Perfect.
Well, we got to get you out to see some comedy, and everybody go to All Time. It is on Hillhurst, and it's funny when I'm in there. I won't blow anybody's names out, but you'll be eating in there. You look over and you go, "Oh wow, look who's in here!" That's pretty wild, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's just like a safe place for people. That's
it really
what I love.
is.
It's a safe place for everybody. Like,
yeah.
No one hassles anyone. Everyone is gracious. Everyone is friendly.
I did see recently a paparazzi shot, which was unusual.
Yeah.
Out in front of your place.
Yeah, we get them every once in a while.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. I mean, that's not on this side of town. You don't really get that.
It's really bizarre, and it's so foreign for me because I'm a redneck from West Virginia. And it takes me forever every time I see him. I'm like, oh, cool, what's this guy shooting with a fucking 900 millimeter lens?
Yeah, he's bazooka lens on your patio.
We run them out of there anytime we find them, and
that's fucking crazy, right?
Let people use the rear door.
Yeah, that's great. All right, give them your Instagram.
Freaking All Time.
Yeah, and Freakin' it. Freakin.
Yeah, no G in Freakin'.
Right, Freakin' All Time, and then Freakin' Part-Time.
Yeah.
And do yourself a favor. One of the greatest things about this place, it was funny. I was eating in there. The first time I ever ate in there, I go, who the fuck is this band that was playing? And I Shazammed it. Your playlists are insane, but it was like a Hispanic kind of Zeppelin guy. I got it in my phone. I forget, but it was like this guy sounded like it was like Zeppelin. It was done in Mexico.
Yeah, we've been on a
fucking great shit in there.
Latin rock kick.
Yeah. So incredible music, which I need these days. I can't go into a place where it's just like really loud and bad music.
Yeah, I have said for the longest time there should be with as bloated as it is, government might as well add another agency that comes and shuts down your restaurant if you play the Shins. Yeah. Some do not, it's like, I'm sorry, you're closed for 2 weeks while you get your shit together.
The Shins.
No disrespect to the Shins, but you can't.
Where you're trying.
The Shins cannot come on in a coffee bar.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. It should self-destruct.
My friend really loves the coffee you sell in there. Yeah, she thinks it's the greatest coffee in L.A.
Yeah.
What brand is it?
49th Parallel. So they're based out of Vancouver. So my friend Vince, and same thing, man. Like Vince has just been doing it for 25 years. Stay in the course. They work direct at the farm level. They buy epic coffees. Vince is wildly successful, but he is there at that roaster every single day.
Yeah.
Cupping coffees, figuring out how they can be better. And it's just, doesn't really, some of this coffee has a point of view that's a little fussy, and like their coffee is just, no one doesn't like it, but I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's so good.
Thanks for doing the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Did you have fun?
I had a great time.
We're going to go to the gym, right?
Yeah, we are. Right now, we're going to do some, we got a kettlebell workout.
Kettlebell.
I'm excited for you to talk about it in your next podcast.
I know.
I'm stiff-legging it
all
over town.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, check out the bonus episodes on patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Thank you, and keep the candles lit.